One of these days, I'm gonna edit out these intros where I walk in. Half the people would complain, and the other half would be happy. Actually, that's not true. I can never make anybody happy. That's what she said, right? Here's something interesting that everybody, just about everybody, gets wrong. Because when you complain about something, like Nikon's new or Canon's new, and this is not about those damn cameras, they're new crappy cameras with one card slot and bad this and bad that. You always get these people that are tribalists that say, well, it's just a tool, your photographic skill. This is superficially true, but the heart of the matter is always deeper because the devil is in the details. Oh, it's just a tool, I mean, you give like this 10-year-old Nikon D3 to Ansel Adams, I mean, he'd just wet himself in happiness. It's not the fact that these are not just tools, and they are, and that professional skills are professional skills. Both of these things are immutable and indisputable. What they are relational to that nobody gets, and this is actually an important point, and I've never seen anybody make a YouTube video about this, is that I used to be a Russian translator, okay? And translators like that are used in the State Department and other places, and also the court systems, they go by grades, like what grade a translator is. And this includes A, their accuracy, and 2, their speed. Like if they can immediately, like a fast processor, go from one language to another, they get this really high grade, and of course they get paid more because they're more in demand. People want a better grade of translator. I mean, I know about this fact. What the issue is with these cameras that people bitch about or that they don't realize when you hear stupid people saying, well, it's just a tool, The professional has to have the skills and the competence. All of this is true. But the point that people can legitimately bitch and gripe about crappy cameras or insufficient ergonomics or poor feature integration or, using old tech or sticking crap in the wrong spots or only having one card. So that 10,000 things that these camera companies screw up on is the interface. It's the same thing as true that we're actually striving towards in artificial limbs. Old dead limb, let's talk about grades of limb replacement. You get your leg cut off back in the pirate days, you stick a wooden stump. You tie a wooden peg leg, right? And that was your replacement for a leg. You'd limp, but you'd at least be able to walk on 2 feet. That'd be like grade 1. Then grade 2 would be like an integrated joint, where you could more easily walk and you weren't limping around like Pirate Pete on a peg leg, right? This is an improvement of integration, right, with a tool. Okay, there are inferior tools. Debating whether a photographer's skills are inferior or not, composition, their eye, the photographic eye of the this is not up for debate. We're talking about tools here and debating whether it's a crap camera or a good camera based upon, whether it's an inferior tool or a superior tool. So it's just a tool. It's like, well, that's true. Of course it's just a tool. I mean, if that were the case, then why aren't you driving, a shitty old Model T Ford on the freaking highway? I mean, it's got 4 wheels and a steering wheel. Why aren't you driving that piece of shit? It's just a tool. It's a car, isn't it? It's like, so why are you driving your freaking Toyota or your Volvo or whatever the hell it is you drive? Well, that's a better tool, isn't it? It's got airbags and all that other fancy shit that people like cup coolers and air conditioning, all that shit people have gotten used to. Now, you don't need air conditioning. You can drive in the middle of hell, Arizona, with the windows down going really fast, right? You don't need AC. There's a lot of stuff you don't need. Technically, you don't need airbags. You just take your risks. Like, yeah, Same thing with the artificial limbs, getting back to that. We're ultimately going to, hopefully sometime in the far distant future, full integration where, Luke Skywalker's hand, remember, it's completely robotic and he could cinch touch and all this stuff and it looked like a real hand. And we gone from a wooden leg all the way to like robotic integration with the body. It's the same thing with cameras. It's the same thing as the grade of translator. Okay, we're talking about grades of inferior to superior tools. You know, if you want to get the shot and your camera's just not up to the autofocus tracking capabilities to get it, then we say, well, this aspect of the tool is inferior. You know, I like this about this. This is why, you know, near perfect cameras, of course, don't exist, but there's some that are, you know, pretty kind of near perfect, like Nikon D4. Like, wow, crap, that camera is still, you know, woo, amazing dynamic range. You know, obviously you don't have a lot of croppability with 16 megapixels, but still a great camera. And that's what would make a camera legendary. It's like, you know, no matter what comes down the future for the next few years, I mean, the X-T2 is legendary, D500, D850, Nikon D4, these are legendary cameras. They're just like, you know, the price is going to drop on them, but I mean, they're going to remain highly desirable, you know, to the foreseeable future. They're legendary cameras. Of course, you know, classic electronics, people are like, well, you know, electronics, you know, they all have a date, a shelf life. Well, they do, but these are ones that kind of have a really long shelf life, and they continue to have that. So tools are rated to capability and more. You know, if you can translate your desires through the camera, if you can't translate your desires to do something through the camera, especially speed. This is important for sports, action, wildlife, croppability. For photojournalism and wildlife, usually there's not much of an issue, croppability in photojournalism. But this is all part of integration into whether it be an inferior tool up to a superior tool. And of course, there's no such thing as a perfect tool. A perfect tool is where you just think it and it instantly happens, right? We won't need cameras in the future. We'll have like eyeball implants. We'll have, you know, 1,000 megapixel artificial eyeballs. And you want to take a picture, you just look at it and then you mentally think, you know, that'll be perfect integration. That'll be the perfect camera for the far distant future. But all of this BS talk about it's just a tool, you know, you gotta have the skills. Well, you do have to have the skills. Nobody's arguing that, for God's sakes. The point being, damn it, is that we can grade a tool. You know, it's like this tool is just, you know, in the case of Canon and Nikon, it's like, well, we waited years for this, and this is the crap they roll out with one card slot and slow autofocus and, you know, 5 frames per second. You know, what the hell are they smoking up there? Bunch of meth heads. So I get sick of hearing this stuff. I see it all the time. You see it all the time. It's just a tool, man. You got to have the skills. Like, that's true. That's not going to keep me from wanting a superior tool. Yeah. Everybody else, too. I mean, if that were the case, and all these camera companies would tell every one of us to go F ourselves. You know, just develop your skills, man. These cameras are good enough. Which is true. You know, they've all got the quintessential airbags and air conditioning. You know, they're good enough for everything. Don't need to make them any better. Yeah, but people want them to be better. Why do people want these cameras to be better? Because they want them to be the same thing as like the Luke Skywalker replacement hand, where it's perfect integration, and it's never going to get there. Unless we have, like I said, a 1,000,000 megapixel robotic eye, which, you know, we could just imagine the most perfect picture and think it, and our brain will store that picture in our brain. It's downloadable. You know, that would be perfect integration. That doesn't exist yet. So until that time exists, people are going to continue to want a more and more and more superior tool. So stop bitching and complaining to me about, you know, it's just a tool. It's like, I know it is. But, you know, me and my wallet and the $3,000 that shit camera costs say, you know, I can get a better camera for less money. That is the important point. It's like, should I buy an inferior piece of crap for $3,000, or should I buy something better for about half the price? Twice as better. You see how that works? It's called, excuse me. Let me say this succinctly. It's called voting with your wallet. Yeah. That really is how these camera companies learn. You know, it's like you're voting for an official or president or something. You vote with your wallet. It's like, I'm not going to buy that piece of crap because it's a piece of crap. I'm going to buy this other thing over here because it's cheaper and it's better. And then the company learns when their camera doesn't get elected because not too many people buy it that didn't vote for it with their wallet. They're like, geez, maybe we need to do a better job. This is why competition is good. Let me repeat that closely. Since I don't discuss politics, and I lived in Soviet Russia for a good little while, where there's it's kind of that's why the post office sucks ass, because they have no competition. Sucks ass. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? You ever waited in the line in the post office? Competition is good because you're able to make a decision with your wallet. And then you have to. Competition is always good. You know what happens when there's no competition? Nobody gives a damn. You get what you get, It's kind of like the post office. Did I just insult the post office? I think I did. The post office, of course you have the options of FedEx and UPS, but post office doesn't have any competition. And they're also not in the business of making, they can't really go out of business. What would happen if you were a business owner? And let's think about this here. This is not politics, but let's think about this here. What would happen if you had a business that's like, I can never fail. The taxpayers are going to just keep funding me, and, it's no matter what I do. I can sit here and, pick my ass and count the holes in the ceiling, and, my business will always be in business. Yay. Generally, what happens is that customer service goes down, complaints go up. Competition is good. Protest you may, but wrong you will be.